Hello, everyone, how are you? Welcome to my channel, where I talk about curious, scary, and intriguing topics. In today's video, I will explore a question that many of you have probably asked. What are the chances of a zombie apocalypse happening? Yes, I know it sounds crazy, but you know I love conspiracy theories, science fiction, and horror. And if you also like them, don't forget to leave your like, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to not miss any video. But before I start, I want to make it clear that this is a purely speculative and hypothetical video, and that I am not claiming that this will happen for real. I will only analyze some possible scenarios, based on some scientific, historical, and cultural sources, and see how they could lead to a zombie apocalypse. So, without further ado, let's go to the video. Scenario 1, Virus. The first scenario that I will present is the most classic and popular when it comes to zombie apocalypse, a virus that infects people and turns them into undead hungry for human flesh. But is this possible in real life? Well, there are some viruses that can cause symptoms similar to those of a zombie, such as rabies, encephalitis, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, and Nipah virus. These viruses can affect the central nervous system, causing aggression, confusion, hallucinations, seizures, and even brain death. But none of these viruses is capable of reanimating a corpse, which is an essential characteristic of a zombie. For that, it would take a much more powerful and complex virus that could maintain the basic vital functions of a dead body, such as blood circulation, breathing, and digestion. In addition, this virus would have to be highly contagious, resistant, and mutable to spread quickly around the world and escape the defenses of the immune system and medical treatments. And, of course, it would have to have a mysterious and unknown origin to surprise and challenge the health authorities. But where could this virus come from? Well, there are some possibilities, such as a biological weapon created by some government, terrorist organization, or mad scientist that escaped control and was released accidentally or intentionally in the population. A natural or artificial mutation of some existing virus that underwent some genetic or environmental change that made it more dangerous and zombifying. A discovery of some ancient or alien virus that was found in some remote or unexplored place, such as an Egyptian tomb, an underground cave, a meteorite, or a spaceship. Whatever the origin of this virus, it could cause a global pandemic, infecting millions of people and turning them into zombies. These zombies, in turn, would attack and bite other people, spreading the virus even more and increasing the number of undead. With that, society would collapse, with chaos, panic, violence, and disorder spreading throughout the world. The governments, the armed forces, the public services, and the institutions would enter into crisis, and the people would have to fight for survival, seeking shelter, food, water, weapons, and allies. This would be the scenario of a zombie apocalypse caused by a virus. But is it the only possible one? Of course not. There are other scenarios that could also lead to a zombie apocalypse, and I will talk about them next. Scenario 2, Parasites. The second scenario that I will present is that of a zombie apocalypse caused by parasites. Yes, parasites, those organisms that live inside or on other organisms, feeding on them and causing them harm. But how could parasites cause a zombie apocalypse? Well, there are some parasites that can manipulate the behavior of their hosts, making them act in strange or suicidal ways to benefit their reproduction or dispersion. A famous example is that of the fungus cordyceps, which infects insects such as ants, wasps, and grasshoppers, and makes them climb plants and attach themselves to them, where the fungus grows and releases spores that infect other insects. Another example is that of the worm Toxoplasma gondii, which infects rodents such as rats and mice, and makes them lose their fear of cats, facilitating their predation and transmission of the worm to the felines, which are their definitive hosts. But could these parasites infect humans and turn them into zombies? Well, this is unlikely, but not impossible. For that, it would be necessary that these parasites underwent some mutation or adaptation that made them capable of invading the human brain and altering its cognitive, emotional, and motor functions. In addition, these parasites would have to have a complex life cycle, involving several intermediate and definitive hosts, that would allow their dissemination around the world. And, of course, they would have to have an obscure and unexpected origin, to catch people off guard and hinder their prevention and treatment. But where could these parasites come from? Well, there are some possibilities, such as A natural or artificial evolution of some existing parasite that acquired new characteristics that made it more dangerous and zombifying. An introduction of some exotic or unknown parasite that was brought from some distant or isolated place, such as a tropical forest, a deserted island, a secret laboratory, or a lost continent. An infection of some ancient or alien parasite that was found in some remote or unexplored place, such as a fossil, an amber, a meteorite, or a spaceship. Whatever the origin of these parasites, they could cause a global epidemic, infecting millions of people and turning them into zombies. These zombies, in turn, would attack and bite other people, spreading the parasites even more and increasing the number of undead. With that, society would collapse, with chaos, panic, violence and disorder spreading throughout the world. The governments, the armed forces, the public services and the institutions would enter into crisis, and the people would have to fight for survival, seeking shelter, food, water, weapons and allies. This would be the scenario of a zombie apocalypse caused by parasites. But is it the only possible one? Of course not. There are other scenarios. The third scenario that I will present is that of a zombie apocalypse caused by nanotechnology. Yes, nanotechnology, that science that studies and manipulates matter at the nanometric scale, that is, in billionths of a meter. But how could nanotechnology cause a zombie apocalypse? Well, there are some projects of nanotechnology that aim to create devices or systems capable of interacting with the human body for medical, military, or industrial purposes. An example is that of nanorobots, which are tiny machines that could be injected into the blood or tissues to perform tasks such as diagnosing diseases, repairing damages, releasing drugs, or fighting infectious agents. Another example is that of nanowires, which are ultra-thin wires that could be implanted in the brain or spinal cord to establish connections between neurons or between the nervous system and external devices, such as computers, prostheses, or weapons. But could these nanotechnology projects get out of control and turn people into zombies? Well, this is unlikely, but not impossible. For this, it would be necessary that these devices or systems suffered some defect, sabotage, virus, or interference that made them act in a wrong or malicious way. In addition, these devices or systems would have to have a capacity for self-replication, self-modification or self-organization that would make them independent and unstoppable. And, of course, they would have to have a secret and unknown origin to surprise and challenge the scientific and technological authorities. But where could these devices or systems come from? Well, there are some possibilities, such as an invention of some scientist, engineer, or genius inventor who created a revolutionary project of nanotechnology, but who lost it or had it stolen, and that it fell into the wrong hands or was activated accidentally. An experimentation of some government, military organization, or powerful corporation that developed a secret program of nanotechnology, but that it escaped control or was used as a weapon against enemies or civilians. An invasion of some extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional agent, who brought with him an advanced technology of nanotechnology, but who was hostile or indifferent to humanity, and who tried to assimilate or destroy life on Earth. Whatever the origin of these devices or systems, they could cause a global infestation, infecting millions of people and turning them into zombies. These zombies, in turn, would attack and bite other people, spreading the devices or systems even more and increasing the number of undead. With this, society would collapse, with chaos, panic, violence and disorder spreading throughout the world. Governments, armed forces, public services and institutions would enter into crisis, and people would have to fight for survival, seeking shelter, food, water, weapons and allies. This would be the scenario of a zombie apocalypse caused by nanotechnology. But is it the only possible one? Of course not. There are other scenarios that could also lead to a zombie apocalypse, and I will talk about them next. Scenario 4, Magic. The fourth and last scenario that I will present is that of a zombie apocalypse caused by magic. Yes, magic, that art or occult science that seeks to manipulate the forces of nature, the universe or the beyond, through rituals, symbols, words or objects. But how could magic cause a zombie apocalypse? Well, there are some forms of magic that can invoke, control or create supernatural beings, such as demons, spirits, angels, gods or monsters. An example is that of necromancy, which is the magic that communicates or uses the dead to obtain knowledge, power or revenge. A necromancer could use a spell, a talisman, a book, or a sacrifice to reanimate corpses and use them as servants, soldiers, or weapons. Another example is that of voodoo, which is the magic that is based on the belief in a pantheon of divinities, spirits, and ancestors that can be invoked or pleased by means of offerings, dolls, amulets, or rituals. A practitioner of voodoo could use a curse, a potion, a needle, or a zombie to dominate, bewitch, sicken, or kill someone. But could these forms of magic infect humans and turn them into zombies? Well, this is unlikely, but not impossible. For this, it would be necessary that these forms of magic were real, effective, and accessible, and that they were used by someone with evil, crazy, or fanatic intentions. In addition, these forms of magic would have to have a powerful, obscure, or dangerous source that would make them immune or superior to the laws of physics, logic, or morality. And, of course, they would have to have an ancient, forgotten, or forbidden origin to escape the knowledge and control of the religious, academic, or legal authorities. But where could these forms of magic come from? Well, there are some possibilities, such as an inheritance from some ancestor, master, or initiate who transmitted a secret, a legacy, or a pact that involved the use of a powerful but dangerous or cursed magic. A discovery of some artifact, document, or place that kept a treasure, a mystery, or a portal that revealed the access to an ancient but hidden or forbidden magic. An invocation of some entity, force, or phenomenon that offered a gift, a wish, or a challenge that required the use of a new but tempting or treacherous magic. Whatever the origin of these forms of magic, they could cause a global calamity, infecting millions of people and turning them into zombies. These zombies, in turn, would attack and bite other people, spreading the forms of magic even more and increasing the number of undead. With this, society would collapse, with chaos, panic, violence, and disorder spreading throughout the world. Governments, armed forces, public services, and institutions would enter into crisis, and people would have to fight for survival, seeking shelter, food, water, weapons, and allies. This would be the scenario of a zombie apocalypse caused by magic. And with that, I end my video today. I hope you enjoyed and had fun. Conclusion. Well, folks, these were the 4 scenarios that I brought to you about what would be the possibilities of a zombie apocalypse happening. Of course, these scenarios are only imaginary hypotheses, and there is no evidence or guarantee that they are real or possible. But I think it is interesting and fun to think about these things, and see how they could affect our world and our lives. And you, what do you think? Which of these scenarios do you find more likely, more scary, or more fascinating? Leave your opinion in the comments. I will love to read and reply.